for me, watching squash, I find it quite confrontational between player and referee. How do you cope, though, mentally with that? When you've got this verbal coming in, or
Russell just said about respect, right? Human factor side of it. That person might got a bump in his car on the way to the match or something. There's things you don't know what's going on. But once you go on court, that's nothing to do with me, mate. You're on court now, and you will appreciate some things, especially if you know that they recently had a bereavement or something like that. But I don't think it affects my decision making. It might affect the tone of my voice. I don't know. I hope I don't fall into that trap. But sorry, what the question?
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, how do you cope with it mentally? But if you're dealing with the confrontation, but as you say, you're making your results and you're making your decisions.
And being in South Wales is pretty insular pool of players. There's very few players I know, especially from playing years ago, and still being in touch through refereeing. So you think, well, there are a couple of not so desirable players out there, but I just accept them. If player A or player B, I don't care who they are. It goes down as player A or player B.
Yeah, sure.
And end of the match, anyone who fails to acknowledge the marker, referee, I think you're on the right game. Accept you've been beaten. You weren't robbed, as most of them think they were. You were beaten and accept it. When you win, you're all like just said, you're in there to compete. So once the match is finished, that's it as far as I can concern. Their behaviour when they come off the court, I do monitor a little bit. Because somebody says, there's no way he was this. So I think, leave it on the court. And that's a good thing at Adrian Davis when he was playing, taking team in for it. He said, stays on the court. Simple as that. One time, shake hands, come off the court. Thank you very much.
Perhaps that's something that coaches could try and instill a little bit more, just to help.
Yeah.
Jason, how about you then? Because obviously you're in with respect, another level of refereeing.
Well, confrontation isn't very nice. It's not something that I've ever looked for in my life. And then I ended up joining the police force, which is a job where you have to deal with conflict and confrontation quite a lot of the time. And in my experiences as a police officer, quite often you would end up arresting someone. You would give them a warning and say, look, if you don't leave the area, you're going to end up being arrested. But they continue being confrontational, abusive and swearing at you. And then you end up arresting them, usually because of there's aggravating factors. They might be under the influence of certain things, or they might be emotionally charged due to the situation they're in. What has helped me, so those skills that I learned sort of transferred across to being a referee, in as much that I now am sort of used to confrontation. Not that it's something we should ever get used to or accept, but I have had experience with it. And quite often when we are getting confrontation on squash court, it is because they're frustrated, the pulse is running high, they want to win a match at all costs. They've got pressure from parents, supporters. We don't know, but they're venting to me as the referee. And saying nothing as a referee is not an option. We have to deal with it and confront it using the code of conduct. What often I've found when you talk about the mental sort of effect it has on us as a referee is quite often, and in both cases of the police and as a referee, is once someone's calmed down and had time to think about their actions, they actually come up and apologise and say, I'm sorry. So with the police, quite often the person who's been released from the cells and they go, I'm really sorry, I don't know what come over me, I had a bad day, And it's the same with some of the squash players, well, most of the squash players. They come up to you soon after and apologise. And I think mentally that helps us process it a little bit better, in as much that although it's personal at the time, the fact that they come and apologise makes it less...
Well, more human, isn't it? And the adrenaline's kicked in, everything's going on.
You can understand that. And so that's my take on it.
Chris, can you tell us about a challenging moment that you faced whilst refereeing?
This many.
Just one.
Where do I begin? 2023 British Junior Open, which is probably our biggest tournament in the UK, if not one of the biggest in the world. I was refereeing a semi-final. I think it was 2 and 4 was the seeding of the players, and the 4th seed wasn't expected to win. But every now and again he'd stop and do a shoelace up. And I'm not exaggerating if I'd say by the time he'd finished, there must have been 10 to 12 knots in that shoelace. So he was just looking to slow the game down, get a bit of a breather. But I'd already warned him, and I'd said to him, you're slowing the game down, you need to play on. If you do it again, conduct stroke. He did it again, called conduct and stroke the other player. It went up in the air. The guy from nowhere, I don't know where he came from, come up, and I'm on a mic now as well. It's being video. He's having a go at me. I'm being assessed at the same time by a world referee, John Mazzarella, and Andrea Santamaria there. So that's made it really tough for me and a tough match. And this guy's going off. I'd already warned this guy. What was the problem with it? I'd just get on with it. That was a tough situation to deal with, and it ended up in chaos. And unfortunately for me, albeit the assessment, actually it's in here, the assessment was still good, but not good enough at the time, and I dropped points on that.
Because that caused you trouble?
Yes, a lot of trouble.
Jason?
Yeah, like Chris, I've had quite a lot of memorable moments, controversial moments. I was at an event last year where it was match point in the fifth and final game, match point, and the server was about to serve. And like Chris said, there was a bit of delaying, bit of time wasting involved, and the receiver was hunched over and not looking over to acknowledge the serve and delaying play. But I watched the server see that he was ready and served, and just as he served, the receiver just prodded the ball to the front of the court, and he then started saying that it was a mistake, and I said, well, no, I think you've accepted that, and therefore the match is to this player. Well, as you can imagine, the player who'd lost the point was up in arms, erupted, he was upset. The guy who had just won the point shook his hand so quickly and got off court so quickly, and the guy that ended up losing was remonstrating me in the doorway, saying that I'd got it completely wrong. I was at that time being put under an extreme amount of pressure to change my mind by him, but I was adamant that what I saw was true in my eyes, and that a fair outcome had been reached there, where the person had attempted to play the ball, but for whatever reason had just patted it to the front, and I took it that they'd accepted the serve. Once that person left the arena, I think I'd given them a code of conduct as well for the way they were talking to me, and they left the arena. I was surrounded by people. A couple of people came up to me and said, what a fair decision, or that took a lot of courage to do that. But straight away, I'm tense, I'm hypersensitive, I'm probably sweating because of what I've just experienced. And as I come out of the arena, some people in the crowd started abusing me as well, started shouting at me as I'm leaving the arena. I stopped, I could see them. I all of a sudden found myself walking towards them, and I thought, what am I doing? So I turned around and walked away and left the arena, went downstairs to the referee's room, and they said, they all were all aware of what just happened, and said, Jace, just stay off the socials for a while, because it might just go up for a while. So yeah, that was a pretty memorable experience.
I remember that play and the decision. I thought that's one of the best decisions I have ever seen. Took a lot of guts to do that, but good call.
Is it fair to say that was black and white? There was no.
I saw
Yeah,
it
exactly,
clear.
and it
I
was
saw
done like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw it clear that way.
Well,
but,
you're human, that's it. Okay, now as you say, you've got some of the games you've got the virtual referee upstairs with the video, but on your own.
We see it certainly in club matches. One of the players is reffing another tie, and he's like, just a let. Like I say, what? Just say yes, let. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, they're not into that game like we are, but and they say, oh, sorry, Steve, that's a stroke. Like just say stroke too.
So,
But
so
from that
something-
side, it's
without
not-
interrupting you there, if you continue, so my next question, do you get verbal interruptions from parents, friends, coaches of the players, and how do you deal with the interruptions there? So
If the ball's in play, I just blank it.
Oh, okay.
Totally blank it. As best I can. It is absorbed to a certain extent. And as soon as that rally ends, I will turn to if it's parents. To be fair, most parents, they curse it. Oh, they look across and say, yeah, you're a parent. That's fair enough. That might know, all right, my kids in their 40s, but they're sporting people. But you think, well, you've got to take that with it, and it strengthens the character of the player. Not turn around and look at their parents to see if they agreed with it, because it's just undermining that they are strengthening the character, I think, understanding the game. So I just think, and if someone is abusive, which did happen I think it was a university match years ago, the Welsh boy that got absolutely stuffed, he came off court fuming, and the boy that played him was a very good English player, was just so in control of what he said. But he came up, he said, don't know my name, sorry. He said, oh, Paul. I go, thanks, Paul. I got to know him after that, right, through different things. But the other player, he waited till the next match started. And while I'm like this, watching, he came and sat in the seat in front of me and turned down and just looked at me all the time, talking during the match. So I said, do us a favour, name. I said, do us a favour, leave it till the end of the game. He just kept on. I said, stop, boys, stop. What? So I said, call the manager. I said, can you remove this player from you, please? Because if you don't, I'm going to conduct stroke his teammate. That was the end of it. But he come on to me then after the match. I said, if you can't deal with losing on court, don't go on court. End the conversation.
yeah, but
But
it's tough.
he's never spoken to me.
That's tough for you.
Which I don't
It's
mind.
tough for a referee. It's hard.
I just said, well, this is where we're at now. Let's put a full stop behind it, and that's it. But like I said earlier, if we drew a list of names, he'd be in the top two.
I can think the situation refereeing here and court 2, glass back. I always sit pretty much right at the back there, but I'm in a central position. And one of the players was a player from my former club, so I knew him. He was never a friend, but I knew him anyway. And on the front row was all his club mates. Every decision I made, they were turning round, pointing fingers and criticising me. And sometimes I have to show a lot of restraint, other times I don't, and I'll say, I'm the referee, you're not. But the thing that they never take into consideration, they're not in the hot seat. They're not under any pressure. Their eyes are watching the game a lot more relaxed than mine. I'm watching incoming player, outgoing player, the ball, the rackets. There's so much ongoing. And in addition, they're at the front, down the bottom. I'm at the back, at the top. The angles are totally different. So what I see as a ball that might be good, they'll see it out and vice versa. They just don't understand. And a lot of it, again, is back to familiarity breeds contempt, unfortunately.
Jason?
I was just going to touch on the familiarity, if I could say it, familiarity. And this takes me back to the very first time I went to referee at the National League match. It was at a club that I used to play at regularly in team matches, and there used to be a lounge area where you all, as all players turned up, you used to congregate in the lounge and used to chat there. And I remember the first time I turned up there in my guise as a referee, and they go, "What are you doing now? What are you doing?" So I'm a referee, and oh, right, okay, and oh, right, and oh, Jace, what are you doing? Oh, I'm refereeing, and you could just tell by the look on their face that I was no longer one of them anymore.
Right.
I was now
the enemy.
The enemy, and I learned a bit of a lesson that day that my relationship had changed forever as far as the player and the referee. And I think we all deal with it in different ways as referees. Some of us want to talk to the players straight after and find out about the decision. Did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? Some don't talk to them. But me personally, I'm actually quite sensitive, and I know that if I became familiar with someone and discuss things with them, I think I would find it difficult to deal with them on court next time if they started showing dissent, because I'm thinking, well, actually, I thought we got
quite nice.
well, but now you're giving me a tough time, and I think that I would find that difficult. So in a way, in order to protect myself, I try not to be too familiar with them in order to protect my well-being.
Yeah, sure. Very